Moving again into the field of sustainability. So, embracing new technology that could enable drastic reductions in greenhouse gas emissions will be key to delivering low emissions pathways for growth, but it is not always obvious what the big breakthroughs in this area will look like. We have to look at how blockchain technology can be applied to support sustainable infrastructure investment that is aligned with climate change objectives and also focusing mainly on three key points: the financing of infrastructure initiatives, the creation of visibility and alignment with climate action, and of course the provisioning of awareness and access for institutions and consumers. And now I would like to welcome to the floor the moderator of the 6th panel of the European Blockchain Week, my colleague from the Ministry of Economic Development and Technology of the Republic of Slovenia, Ms. Nena Dokuzov.
Yes, Dylan, thank you very much. I agree with all you said about sustainability and about blockchain infrastructures. I would like to emphasize maybe one very important thing of the things about the infrastructure. We started to build this some years ago. We know that we have a challenge and we will try to address this challenge through today's discussion. So I invite you to follow us, to stay with us in next 2 hours approximately, to have very fruitful debate. First, now we will have introductory speeches, and I would like to invite Mr. Tadej Slapnik, CEO of SI-Chain and Hashnet, to join me at the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Nena. Hi to everybody. Together with my colleague from Telemach company, Mr. Igor Bistricic, we will, in this first part of the panel, introduce the activities that we did in past more than 2 years in the Republic of Slovenia on the field of building national blockchain infrastructure. Actually, everything started in 2019 when Hashnet company and Telemach company, in cooperation with our Ministry for Economic Development and Technology, launched the first, globally first blockchain national infrastructure. We call it C-Chain, with of course main goals to first give a kind of testing environment on the national level, how the blockchain infrastructure could be used for public but also for private sector. In following months, we started to integrate also the first use cases on the infrastructure, and now in already more than 1.5 years, we are collaborating on European level with colleagues that will also join us from Italy, from Spain, and from Croatia, where we are trying to make a collaboration to develop cross-ledger and cross-border collaboration and integration of blockchain infrastructures. As you can see, first use cases that we already integrated, it's EPSI traceability use case that we integrated in the framework of testing our protocol also by European Blockchain Partnership. Then we have blockchain e-delivery, we have diploma verification use case already integrated, but we are also preparing some others like self-sovereign identity for companies, copyright infrastructure solutions, CBDC use case, and digital material passport. Here is the picture from launching our national blockchain infrastructure in 2019, where you can see that we gathered quite a lot of participants in the framework of Slovenian Blockchain Partnership. And we actually give opportunity to our Minister for Economic Development, Mr. Zdravko Počivalšek, that he actually tested the first transaction on a C-chain. Main features of C-chain and Hashnet technology behind it is that it's quite fast. It achieves approximately 50,000 transactions per second on the first layer. It's much cheaper for its usage because it's proof of stake protocol based. That's why not so energy consuming. And it's also easier to use because we integrated Ethereum virtual machine on top of it, and we enable actually all existing use cases and implications working on Ethereum to migrate and to be used on Hashnet. Also, other benefits from security to convenient usage, resilience, flexibility, cost, efficiency, you can see on the slide. Comparing to competition, as you can see, some generations of and some other solutions like from Ethereum, Hyperledger, Hedera Hashgraph, we achieve approximately 50,000 transactions on the first layer. We have quite short time to finality, and of course we are one of the rare providers who already build the test blockchain infrastructure with the Hashnet protocol. I wanted to show you on that slide some basic infrastructure of C-chain. We will upload the version of the presentation on the web page that everybody who cannot see now will be able to see it. But what we wanted to highlight here is the infrastructure and the architecture of it, and already 4 use cases integrated on top of it. But more about the, let's say, infrastructure and hardware part and the solutions of the C-chain infrastructure, it will be presented by my colleague Igor Bistričić from Telemach, national telecom operator here in Slovenia. That's why, if you allow me, Nena, I will directly invite you, Igor, to just follow my speech. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm coming from one of the largest telecom communication companies in Slovenia. We are part also of the International United Group company, which has telecom companies from Slovenia up down to Greece. So in the last 2 years, we came to the point that we are definitely the largest and more developed telecommunication group in Southeast Europe. Regarding to the technology of the blockchain, we are doing that for the last 2 years, even more because many of us which were employed in the company we're working on several different projects, like for the last 5 to 10 years, connected also to the coin market and everything which was connected with the blockchain. So our advantages in the blockchain technology are connected primarily with that we have the optical network through Slovenia to the whole part of the southeastern Europe, up down to the Greece, and on the northern part to Bulgaria and Romania, and it's owned by us. So for the special projects as a blockchain and connecting between the border, we can always establish such optical and networking capabilities that it's not on will to anybody else. On the other hand, we have a number of data centers primarily built because our core business, but during the last 2 or 3 years, we are going with those data centers on the market because all of our data centers are also built with the highest and newest technology, and all of them are licensed as a Tier 3 data centers, which eventually mean that are fully automatized. They are covered with 72 hours minimum of working without outside the net electricity. We were reached that level because of the number of sustainable batteries in the data center and outside generators. But what is most important is that in Slovenia we have 3,000 square meters solar panels, which powers our data center up to 30% of electrical energy. The architecture of Hashnet, it's based on the simple servers, as already today represented to you. We don't need to use the difficult algorithms which are present into other technology of the blockchain, because it's going for the technology which is proof of stake and not proof of work. So it's much more electricity downsize. I think we are running the whole thing in between 5 to 7% of electricity, as for example, Bitcoin or such platforms or technology which is in behind Bitcoin are consumed in average. And it's not meant to be the complete distributed environment which anybody can step in, but the environment which will enable the companies and the programmers and everybody else to start building on our national platform implementation of every application which the blockchain can be used. So, for example, everybody else, for the proof of work, they are using the different type of machinery, different type of cards inside. You know that for the complex blockchain based on proof of work, the best thing is to use the graphical engines or GPUs or graphical chipset, which you can find on the graphical cards. And but with that, it comes the 9 to 10%, 90 to approximately 90% of that is going to be usage of electrical energy and waste of the actually exceeding warming of the components. Okay, that's just for the introduction. Thanks to everybody for listening to that, and I hope that we have more to say over the desk. Thank you.
Thank you, Igor. Now I would like to invite Jesus Ruiz from Alastria to join us for the introductory speech. So, Jesus, are you here?
Yes. Okay, now let me start from the beginning. Okay, so in 1972, the first public data network, and those are the critical words, public data network in the world was put into operation. Okay, and that time the networks were mostly regional or national before the development of the common protocols that enable later the interconnection among different networks to become the network of networks, better known as the internet. And the definition of public data network implies that any natural or juridical person, without any discrimination or arbitrary rules, can contract access to the network and use it for any use case that they want. Okay. So what do we need and where we go from Alastria? Okay, we need a general purpose blockchain network with the so-called public permission model, trying to get the best of the two worlds. A decentralized governance model, ensuring that anybody can participate, and a permissioning system like in the private consortiums of banks with banks, energy companies with energy companies, and so on. Okay, so we need a network which is not controlled by any company, any group of companies, or even by a single government. A network with the spirit of the internet backbone. Okay, so with a special characteristics, which is also decentralized and permissioned at the same time. So we don't believe on the public permissionless networks. Okay, for the real economy, we need permission. And you see here that it has to be non-discriminatory and open access. Anybody can participate, anybody, like in the real economy, which is decentralized and open inclusive governance. Juridical persons like businesses are never, ever anonymous, maybe with privacy, but never anonymous, okay? And citizen and consumer protection is supported, is a critical thing, okay? And sustainable and eco-friendly. Sustainable and eco-friendly, okay, is part of the global picture, and all these properties are interrelated, okay? Alastria is a non-profit association created 3 years ago, and we are right now more than 500 entities and with a heterogeneous composition. And even though it started with big companies, it is critical to empower the small and medium enterprises to participate actively, and also public administrations. We have several countries participating, okay? And participation is open to everybody. Anybody can enter, and existing members cannot arbitrarily exclude other entities from joining. This is critical, like from the internet, okay? But in addition to being a normal association, one of the main objectives is to promote the creation of actual working and operational public permission networks, okay? And I want to stress that the association does not operate any single node or service of the network. The association just promotes the network and coordinates activities. The network is completely operated by the members in a collaborative way, and anybody can participate in running the network if they comply with some operational rules that have been set up and accepted by all members of the community. So all the members of the community can participate by using the network, but they can participate in running the so-called validator nodes to operate the governance of the network. And the rules are transparent and non-discriminatory, okay? And there is no business model in operating the network, because this is not a blockchain as a service or any other similar thing. The money for companies is in the applications on top of the networks. And the challenge is to make the network sustainable in the sense of the economic sense, okay? In order to do this, use cases with business cases on top of the network are critical, as they create the incentives for the existence of the network, creating a virtuous circle, okay? And then, but the problem is that the blockchain is a difficult technology to analyze because it is multifaceted. And those are the problems that we are trying to solve in Alastria, okay? Because if we look at this as an interconnection technology, we would like some of the properties from the internet backbone, most notably the fact that it is permissioned, okay? So anybody participating has to have an identity, okay? And it is considered as a common good, okay? And in many cases, will be considered a fundamental right, okay? And everybody has the right to join and use the infrastructure according to the access rules. Now, national regulatory and other competent authorities will have to participate in this, okay? But this is a very big subject, okay? Now, blockchain has also some properties of a cloud because of the storage of data, and this confuses many people, okay? For example, many people, especially in big companies, expect the blockchain network to be managed and operated by a single company. So they can sign a contract and a service level agreement with one entity that they can make accountable for anything happening in the network. And they fear or do not understand at all a blockchain network which is operated collaboratively by a group of entities, and where none of them has really control of the network. But this is exactly the model that we want, okay? But finally, and I will end, blockchain is much more difficult to scale than internet connectivity or cloud services, okay? In this sense, it behaves or it smells like a scarce resource, like a natural resource, okay? And this is very difficult to manage, okay? It's like an irrigation water, like fisheries, like forest, or even the whole earth, okay? Not like the internet. Now, the focus of Alastria networks and activities is on the real economy and the government services more than in the financial economy and financial markets, which are important, but it's more important the people, the households, the companies, and the government services. Okay, and as a conclusion, we need blockchain networks, which are a common good. So they have to be permissioned with decentralized governance, which are non-discriminatory, multi-purpose, focused on the real economy, where we have integrated the regulatory environment. We have a big size and it is heterogeneous and sustainable, okay? And well, it may be restricted to some regions, countries, and so on, but we have many, many challenges. And as Tadej mentioned, we have to collaborate across countries and with EFSI to make this for real, at least for Europe, and then also for other regions of the world. Okay, and I have finished.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesus. I'm happy that you are joining us also in the round table. Now I would like to invite Pietro Marcioni. Please, if you are here, Pietro.
So, good afternoon, everybody. And I would like to thank the previous speakers because they allow me to talk of some further elements that make this technology and what we are doing very, very important also from environment impact point of view, because everything they said is correct and is something that is getting this technology and the services running on it in a basic environment that is practically already into the concept of, let's say, reducing the impact. But from the other side, the work that we're doing in EBSI is not only, I would say, a technological work, but is also a work of interoperability and processes. What does it mean? Means that when we have a situation that we bring a service as is from one technology to another, we could save, let's say, we can reduce the impact just because the second technology has a better performance or better functioning on the previous technology. But what if we can change the process in the way the number of steps and the easiness of steps that are done to provide the same service is reduced? The impact of this, it's somehow far higher than the impact that could happen when we have, for example, a small increase of performance. And why is that? Because this impact is not only an impact on pure electricity consuming, but it's an impact of time consuming, it's an impact on our easiness of life and all the processes that are behind that. So thanks to this technology and the work that's been proceeding within the European blockchain service infrastructure and the colleagues from the use case and the policy group, we are really trying to shift the paradigm of the services in a decentralized way. And that shift itself will save a lot of resources. And I give you for these two examples, one barely from technological point of view and the other from process point of view. In the first case, let's suppose you have a process that works as today when there are 10 participants there to exchange data, exchange information, and have a process that cross the borders, not only physical borders, but also technological borders of 10 participants. In this case, you must have 10 times by 9, so around 90 ways and possibilities for them to interact with each other. Okay, so each of them has to interact with all the others, maybe, it depends on the process. Now, let's take the worst case scenario, and they have to know the APIs of the others, they have to adapt these APIs, you have to have 10 service agreements, they have to talk to each other and be integrated, and so forth. Maybe you have different operating systems and machines. This process, that as it is, as for today, is a really high consuming process, not only as I say, from power consumption point of view, but also from time, resources, and physical costs of the 10 entities there to deal with other 9 entities. Now, get rid of this model and put an infrastructure, trusted infrastructure like blockchain, where all of them can talk with a common infrastructure, and they receive the information from this common infrastructure. In this case, they have only one model to follow, all of them. This model is decentralized. Therefore, you have all, let's suppose there are 10 nodes, so each of them has one node, and each of them running the service. So the service level agreement in this case is very light, as it's very unlikely that all the 10 nodes in 10 different entities will be down and the service will require extra layers of continuity for that, and so forth. So you may understand that the reduction of impact in using blockchain technology and using these new processes does have to be accounted only for pure energy consumption, but from many factors, and these factors are somehow more impactful than what we initially thought. So that's why we believe that the work of EBSI will change a lot, both our processes and the impact of our technological processes on our environment. From the other side, you may understand that the end user that has to follow a process going through these 10, let's say, entities, and trying to understand the mindset process of these 10 entities, maybe have to have a login on each of them to follow my process, to check as a citizen what's going on. While on the other case, on a decentralized model, I have my wallet, and in my wallet I can see the process on my request going through the live stages or the steps that have been defined for that process, without the requirement to have the knowledge of this, of what is behind it, or which even maybe I wouldn't even not know which entities are behind that. This also is a cost saving that is multiplied for all the citizens and for any time they use this service. And this is a really, really impactful moment when we simplify the life of the citizens, because they will take less time, they will have more time on themselves, or for example, for their job or for other activities, and they will be able to have, for example, to consume better processes. So what I would like to highlight, and I finish here, that we had to focus not only on how many kilowatts we consume, but we had to make a sum of the really large impact that such technology may have in our society. Thanks for everybody, and I guess we are having the panel that we will participate together.
Thank you, Pietro, very much for this, and I hope that you will be able to join the discussion later. Now I would like to invite Dr. Karol Skala from the Institute Ruđer Bošković from Croatia, talk about CROPSI and Croatian blockchain services infrastructure. Please, Mr. Skala.
Thank you very much, Nena. It's a great pleasure to me that I can say some facts about the situation in Croatia, about the developing of blockchain service infrastructure across CROPS. So, as we heard before from Tadej, Croatia is one partner in a cross-border infrastructure network testbed, and I will tell you some details about our CROPSI initiatives in Croatia. First, about Institute Ruđer Bošković, who is a leader of these initiatives. This is the largest institute in Croatia, founded 1950 by Yugoslav Academy of Science. And the first research activities of this institute was theoretical nuclear and molecular physics and electronics. Today consists 12 divisions and 4 centers. The research area now is very extensive for biology, medicine, environmental science, computational science, physics, and chemistry, with more than 900 employees. It is a very old institute, and some famous physicists visited it, as a Max Planck, Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, and so on. Ruđer Bošković represents a bridge is between the European research area and the Croatia business surroundings. So with the last 20 years, mainly my group, which is a Center for Informatics and Computing, finished 22 framework programs from FP6, FP7, Horizon 2020, and mostly this project was to establish the computing network infrastructure, that's mean grid, after that cloud and so on, and another channel of activities was the development of artificial intelligence. We have a great experience with the framework programs and working consortium, and now I think that we can continue this project orientation in the blockchain field. So I might say that the group consists of not more than 10 researchers and engineers. It's a relatively very small group who realized all these projects. So about the EU infrastructure ecosystem, it is a very important today. Digitalization creates ecosystems with smart attributes, and anyhow we have a good situation in EU about the pan-European infrastructure building and implementing and using for all member states. So we have 20 ERICs. It is very, very big help for all disciplines that we have infrastructure facilities on the highest level. So about our approach to pan-European EU infrastructure is the open and the trust science, what means that the open science is now well-known practice, but the trust science is something which must be developed in the future. So now we are looking at blockchain technology in this part of implementing blockchain in science, in scientific work, and other scientific topics. So what I want to tell you that blockchain technology is now the platform for realization of strategic development as prosperity EU, considering on the global level, but we need to look how we will use blockchain in trust science. So if we look at the map of now existing pan-European grid infrastructure, where approximately 140 well-known institutes joined all together and build up the distributed computing environment in Europe. Then we, from the early stage of EOS now and Eric, now the question is EPSI the next pan-European infrastructure concept, and how we can inject it or related blockchain in existing distributed computer networks, which is existing now as a pan-European infrastructure. So the future infrastructure must be open and trust, and this research infrastructure are strongly involved in the development of open and trust science, and should continue contributing to it also by supporting a newly established European Open Science Cloud Association and services. About EU distributed service vision, I think that in the future, all public and professional services will use blockchain technology. In 2018 was started blockchain awareness and testing all over the globe, but especially in EU. And now we know that we have a very good partnership, European blockchain partnership, and we establishing implementing European blockchain service infrastructure, and we want to be the part of this infrastructure. How we looking for the future service situation, because soon professional smart services must be trusted. Very important to recognition of pragmatic direction of smart distributed service development. So looking to the future, we can predict the establishment of a vertical service hierarchy. That means deep fog, cloud, and rainbow distributed and trusted services. It is a pragmatically new service mission that starts with new decomputing paradigm. Decomputing integrates IoT with artificial intelligence and blockchain. Decomputing represents an initial ground-based trusted service that through a vertical link to fog computing leads to extensive professional service systems that reach cloud computing. And if such cloud computing and interoperable cloud services are federated and connected across the globe, a global service system is created, which we have called Rainbow Global Services. Such system will be able to drive autonomous vehicles, smart factories, and so on. Yeah, in this new fifth industrial revolution will be use this kind of services, and the blockchain is very important together with artificial intelligence and IoT in this complex generic global service concept. So as I mentioned, our Krobis motivation is well known, and you know this in general. I don't waste the time, but testing, we will use the Hashnet as Tadej said, and today the first developer of Hashnet, Josip Maricevic, he is my colleague here in Zagreb in Dollar company, represent in details the Hashnet. And now we building our infrastructure on a Hashnet program basis. This is a concept of our CROPSI infrastructure, which want to join with Slovenian and other national infrastructures and the connection with EPSI. Only I want to say you some activity and achievements in Croatia. In 2017, the Association of Blockchain and Cryptocurrencies was founded. 2019, the dollar Hashnet network was released. 2020, the Croatian Telecom Blockchain as a Service program started. And now we have many activities about the Bitcoin, about some other applications. And what we are preparing now, it's important as a special issue in preparation at Frontism Blockchain journal about human-machine interaction. The editor of this special issue is my colleague here from Institute Bošković, Dr. Lipic. And about the activities, I must mention application for issuing and verifying diploma on blockchain. Kotrugli Business School is a provider. We had one good workshop, blockchain in circular economy, roundtable in May in this year, and I great thanks that this workshop organized, supported, and provided together with Nena and Tadej. RBI developing a DLT solution platform for publication scientific papers. This is important activity now in my institute, and we have some groups who looking some activities about the standardization, and next week in 44 MIPRO convention, we will have the blockchain application development workshop. So about the Hashnet, you know everything because we heard today directly from Josip Maričević the details, and only what I want to present you is our use case, which is under the consideration and starting with the development. It is a scientific publishing on DLT platform. We have a great problem now with the scientific papers publishing. You know that we have big papers, more than several hundred every day, and it is a problem now. It is not solved. We want to put our solution, proposal solution for DLT publication is a very distributed ledger technology to achieve distributed consensus, reaching, sharing, storing, and securing transactions and other data generated in the paper review process and in publishing in general. This solution aims to solve the quality of paper review, instant problem, and larger issue is involving academic integrity, publication bias, and found originating from the increased pressure to the publish while building of the decentralized ecosystem for publishing and reviewing scientific papers. And what is very important, by applying this concept, these use cases, we can valorize the work and reward authors and reviewers work with Bitcoin or Zcoin, cryptoscientists, and so science coins, cryptocurrencies, and so on. So thank you for your attention, and we following further EU framework calls and ready for partnerships.
Thank you, Dr. Karol. Thank you very much. I would like to invite Maike Krautscheit, CCO and the lead blockchain consultant from Smart Ledger, for introductory speech and then later for the discussion. Please.
Thank you, Nina. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Ljubljana. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Smart Ledger, Maike Krautscheit, my name. Smart Ledger is a blockchain distribution channel that is offering a one-stop source solution to all different sorts of companies and industry sectors. We have access to more than 250 patented or patent-pending blockchain innovations that we, for example, customize, we implement services, but we are also creating our own products and services based on highly scalable, sustainable, flexible, and public blockchain technology. If you'd like to know further details of our offerings, please send me an email, contact me on LinkedIn, and I'll send you a business summary of Smart Ledger. Opa. Here you can see 3 examples of our products. One is CertaHash, which is a cybersecurity platform based on the blockchain. ESG Stamp is provides a universal source of truth to verify environmental sustainability and governance programs. Ticketmint is bringing a ticketing revolution based on the power of NFTs. Smart Ledger in general has an agnostic approach to blockchain technology. But when customers ask for certain blockchain solutions, we can provide these services. But we as Smart Ledger, we chose the BSV blockchain to build on. Why is that? Why is this, for us, our perfect fit? So the BSV blockchain technology is a highly scalable blockchain that can transfer 50 to 100,000 transactions per second. Currently, it also will be able to scale millions of transactions in the future per second. And currently, it's already with a low latency when you, for example, transfer 25K transactions. It does it with a latency of 100 to 400 milliseconds, which is really amazing. It has a consistently low transaction fees, which means, for example, a fraction of a penny. Also, which distinguishes to other blockchain technologies, it offers large data storage capabilities. It already did more blocks that has 2 gigabyte sizes, for example, which gives us huge flexibility not only to transfer and to store value on the blockchain, but also huge amounts of data. It also can do smart contracts, recording contracts, and tokenization. Also, which makes the BSV blockchain for us sustainable is that it has a stable protocol, which means we can have confidence that we can build on it and our work won't go to waste because the underlying protocol was changed. And the native Bitcoin script programming language is Turing complete, which means that you can theoretically run any algorithm on the blockchain. BSV blockchain validates its blocks through proof of work. And people think, commonly, that proof of work is a waste of energy. But is it so? Or is it simply undifferentiated half knowledge? So when people think of proof of work, mostly people might think of BTC. BTC has only a scalability, a capacity of sending 3 to 7 transactions per second. And with this low transaction throughput, there is no real use case for this network, this sort of network. So it makes a huge difference when you validate blocks with a certain amount of energy and can only do like a couple of thousand, or one block contains only a couple of thousand transactions, or you use the same amount of energy for one block that contains millions and millions of transactions and can serve real-life use cases like the BSV blockchain. So the BSV blockchain preserves sustainability through scalability as one point. To get further into detail, economy of scale. The more the BSV blockchain is used, the cheaper the transaction and the smaller also the carbon footprint. And more transactions can bring the CO2 per transaction down to levels comparable to Visa. But Visa can only, we can only already, from the amount of transactions per second, we are already exceeded the Visa blockchain, but we didn't bring it down to the carbon footprint to Visa yet. But we want that also, we see that certain big data needs to be protected by proof of work, which, for example, cannot be done by Visa. And proof of work has an economic incentive structure for miners to stay honest and to use the latest technologies. And also, Smart Ledger is working with miners that are striving to aim the use of 100% renewable energies, which is also a very important factor. So the BSV's network in total brings down itself the carbon footprint per transaction to really low levels itself, but through its capabilities, the things that this blockchain offers, it offers much more value and efficiency for societies, for economies. So the BSV blockchain provides unprecedented opportunities to enhance sustainability of economies and societies. And this is one of the reasons why Smart Ledger is building on the BSV blockchain. If you want to get more into details about the proof of work and energy consumption, there's an upcoming study of MNP, which might be published by the end of October. If you have further questions, I would love to receive all your messages. You can send me an email or you can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer all of your requests. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maike. Now we will need 1 minute to fix the stage, and see you in... hello, everybody, again for this late afternoon. I'm very happy that I have whole infrastructure verticals in Europe here with me. Thank you very much for your introductory speeches. We really realize that infrastructure is one of the most important pillar of the development and also of existence of the technology as such. I actually sent you 3 questions, but maybe we can go in the opposite way. We know that on the European level, we started to develop European blockchain services infrastructure. On the other hand, we are developing our own national infrastructure. Maybe one provocative question, and maybe I will start with you, Pietro. Do you think that that national infrastructure can be developed from scratch to support only national level, or they can be integrated into the European level independently from EPSI, or we need to include EPSI into that development? As so much work was invested into EBSI. Maybe with you, and then we will make one circle.
I believe that for sure it's very important to build national infrastructure, as not all services are meant to be cross-border. So, and maybe it would be a little bit unlikely that cross-border infrastructure would focus on non-cross-border services. And there is no doubt that EBSI, as born when we, and you were there as well, put down the initial idea of EBSI to be a network of networks, as the internet has been developed. Therefore, it has a sense. Now, for sure, if you build a set of networks that don't talk to each other, you miss the point. And you know, internet as a common base with the TCP/IP, and the infrastructure does have to have a common, let's say, technology, but has to have a common language. So it's very important that all the infrastructures will talk the same interoperability language that we are designing EBSI, and we are ready to improve it in case that we are missing any point, so that citizens that gets a service in Croatia or in Slovenia can go to France and get the same service without thinking of changing anything in his mindset and in his tools to interact with it. So this is the power of EBSI, and this is the fact that makes us a key element of putting Europe one step ahead of any other nation or group of nations in the world in this technology.
Yeah.
Maybe Maike, you respond to this?
Can you repeat?
What is the advantage of the national infrastructures versus EBSI, or in the contrary, what is EBSI advantage about the
I think for the EBSI question, Tade is more the expert, because he's also involved in this project, I guess.
Yeah, but your opinion, to have one overall European blockchain infrastructure to develop it within common base, or to have national infrastructures that can be integrated into one supranational infrastructure?
All right. So in general, I think it's always good to start somewhere. And when we have such a country that is courageous to start such innovations, I think this is, it's only you have to open your arms and take it. Sometimes it's trial and failure in some ways, for sure. But how can we develop as a society, in the world, when we don't risk something? So this is wonderful, first of all. And in Germany, there are also attempts to start somewhere with a blockchain, but I don't see that there's a national-wide blockchain structure coming, evolving. I don't see it currently. So one of the countries, they start, and then they think, okay, when we want to do these and these use cases, oh, our system, our network, it's not enough. So we have to expand, we have to collaborate. Without the collaboration, without standardization, it won't work. So this is also a process which will evolve and which will turn out at some point. And then they might figure out, okay, this current blockchain technology that we are using is not enough for the purposes that we want to use it for. And then the search is starting over again. But to have someone who starts the process, that is wonderful. And then at some point, we might have a bigger player coming in, for example, European Commission, European Parliament, saying, okay, we see these developments in these countries coming up, and this is creating these positive effects on the society, on the economy. Or we want this also, if we want this for all the states. So, and then, yeah, there could be working groups come up, teams, and we can take a look at different systems. And I think there is still a lot of knowledge missing. I mean, for most of us, it's still a very new technology, and much is in development in the technology itself. So that's how I see the progress. So first of all, someone starts, and then it goes on a higher level. Maybe it could be from the public sector, it could be from the European Commission, it could be from your Parliament come in, and then the states, all the votes for, yes, we want blockchain technology, we want this and this. Okay, as a standard for all the countries, for example, traceability, supply chain management is one part. But it could also be from the private sector. A big player comes in and drags all his suppliers into the system. That's what I see.
Yeah, thank you very much. Then today you were directly addressed, so please explain.
Well, actually, I will, of course, agree with Pietro that really important pioneering work has been done from European Blockchain Partnership, from European Commission, all progressive member states who engaged in 2018 building first partnership, starting to build the European blockchain service infrastructure, and the important top-down approach, let's say, that on European level we have a goal to build the cooperation and to build the basis for the infrastructure, start to develop first use cases. All work, extremely a lot of wonderful activities was going on, really important. But in the same time, I see also really important this bottom-up approaches from national level, not just to build up and launch national infrastructures as such, but all the processes going in hand with this, to introduce it, to showcase, to involve different ministries on national level, to involve different also stakeholders from the businesses, to involve, to learn, to think which use cases first would fit for on national level also, but in the same time, of course, I agree to collaborate cross-border, to collaborate on European level, and I see that still I think we have straight vision that we will have EPSI as a main European blockchain infrastructure, where national infrastructures first will, of course, integrate, and a lot of work will be done also on cross-border projects. Here I can see the same pioneering steps like in 2018 on European level with EBSI, with these national infrastructures being developed in Slovenia, Italy, Croatia, Spain, also some other countries are joining, in order that we all know that we now on different national level we use different protocols also, different blockchain technologies behind, but we all know that on the end like it was discussed, and the end users, either on national, either on European level, will be using the service, and we have to develop this service so interoperable that, that it will be really possible to use it either on national, either on European level. That's why I think following years, not just on European level, but also on national level, it will be crucial, and I think a lot of wonderful collaborations are ahead of us.
Super. Jesus, your Alastria infrastructure was one of the first, but more focused into the companies. Would you share with us your opinion on this question? National, European, integrated nationals, up to European. Please.
Yes, Nina. You can hear me, right? Because I
yeah, you
had
are
a
driving.
problem. Okay, my mother-in-law had a health problem. I am in the car, okay? But I couldn't miss this roundtable, okay? So I'm waiting right now. So sorry about the sound or whatever. In any case, I really think that there's not going to be a single network to rule the world. So there's going to be a lot of different networks, and they have to be interoperable, as all the other participants said. So we have to be able to make those networks interoperable. Now, having said that, we need the EPSI network is a critical pan-European infrastructure which can be used for any other network, okay? Now, speaking about national initiatives, okay, national or even bilateral or anything, because the networks should be created to solve real world problems, okay? Problems of the citizens, problems of the companies, the real economy and the real society. Now, having said that, in Spain, we started Alastra in Spain because we joined forces in Spain, okay? And then in other countries, it is normal that you start in one country. But to me, there is no limitation to create a network which crosses some boundaries if it makes sense. But at the end, there is going to be a long number of networks, maybe some networks related to some specific use case, but at the end, because they all have to be interoperable, interoperability is not just a technical term. You need a trust framework. And then the way to reach trust, not inside a single network, but across networks, maybe across borders, but inside a network crossing borders, if this network has to interoperate with another blockchain network, you need a trust framework. And I think that the EPSI network, apart from some services, is going to provide this trust framework thanks to basically the European self-sovereign identity and some other, let's say, basic services. So networks from the national perspective, yes, why not? But not just limited to this, okay?
Maybe from the perspective of more traditional, larger company, how you are transforming your mindset also into that national and also European cross-border interoperable infrastructures on blockchain.
Okay, hello to everybody. As I'm, let's say, more traditional corporate-oriented engineering person, and I'm enough into the technology like from early 80s, last centuries. So I was able to follow up the whole technology process in the IT industry for years, and I was acting in one of the technology providers or innovators or something like that, all the way that path. But I always thinking about on every new technology, there is examples in history about electricity, electrification, let's say transport area, such things as railways, highways, and etc. So I cannot talk about from the just and solely from the perspective of the corporate business, because corporate business always has one particular goal to make a profit for their owners. and the influence on the society is just on the second place. And we see that lately in the last 10, 20 years or in 21st century particularly. But if we are talking about new technology, the basics must be somehow standardized on the beginning. So on the beginning is always very important to think about if this technology we are using, no matter that we will in some point of time use a different network and different approach to this technology to be available to the broader masses of the people and to help the society in some invention with that technology will help if we want to help the broader amount of people. It's not just to do for that people to make them consumers of that technology. So if we don't have them as just as consumers of that technology, so we must build the railway, we must build the highways, and as for now, there is a strategic, always it was a strategic state influence to go with some standardization of the highways. So in the Europe, everybody is, for example, driving on one side of the road. So the railway has exactly the same proportion of the wideness. The trains are all the same, so they can cross the border, not as we used to have, for example, between Hungary and the rest of the Europe and Russia, when all the trains which are going to Russia must stop at the Russia border, so all the passengers must go out of the train which came from Europe and switch to the train which goes and goes around Russia, because they don't have the same wideness of the rail tracks. Okay, so that's the role of the state, because the state represents the society in the most broadest amount of people which are living in each state. And I believe that little by little we will get to the, let's say, standardized, a little bit more standardized, unified technology, which in the blockchain world, which will be able to build the common, let's say, few countries like Southeastern Europe or few countries in Central Europe can go, of course, together into the same basic technology. And we are here talking about, let's say, something which is known to us today as the operating system. So the operating system started to blooming in some point of time. So it was like early 80s or later in 80s. But on the end, we came to the few operating systems when everybody can collaborate together and everything is connected. Today you have Windows, you have Unix, you have Linux, you have basic standardized operating systems, but they are all alike because on the basic things the standardization occurs. And they are available to everyone, as the railway, as the highway, as everything else. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Igor, Dr. Karol, can you tell us, you are at the beginning now of the development of the national blockchain infrastructure. What is the motive to develop the national one and not to just to borrow something that is already existing? And what we heard from Igor, it is the view of the traditional or conventional company that is also transforming itself into or digitally transforming, embracing new technologies. How the Institute, Ruđer Bošković, is approaching to this internal transformation of blockchain and or using blockchain technology, and what is your vision on this?
Yeah, thank you, Nena. I fully agree with Tadej, but I extend his standpoint. That means the hybrid technology is a most convenient model. That means top-down, bottom-up, but with a very hard coordination. This coordination is missing. We can make the constatation that we are now not in digital transformation. We are in digital reformation. We changing many things, many technologies, and the interoperability. That means that we need this to connect these technologies. This digital reformation must be done systematically, and blockchain technology needs to be introduced and positioned in the European Strategic Forum on Research Infrastructure. That means ESFRI strategy. As we know, the last ESFRI roadmap is coming from 2018, when blockchain take off in Europe, and not include in ESFRI roadmap. So it is very important that we include or EPSI forming the strategic group inside the ESFRI, and harmonization for wider generic blockchain infrastructure. We need to harmonize EPSI with all other pan-European infrastructures. That means that the hybrid model is good, but we need the very, very hard coordination. So very important topics is a harmonization and implementation with other pan-European infrastructure already established as Giant, EGI, EOSC, and so on. Furthermore, a user-friendly infrastructure requires a unified user-friendly API and any other standardization about the program components, what we want to use, and everything is need the scientific and technology development approach under the very good coordination. So that is my standpoint, that ESFRI and EPSI need to lead all relevant topics and pull up with integration, compatibilization, and harmonization with interoperability with other sustainable national initiatives and actions.
Yeah, I agree. We shall think about broadening the use of EPSI or of national integrated infrastructures also in ESFRI area or other areas. But maybe the question for all, what do you think, what would be the common denominator for this integration, apart from standards, apart from harmonization, apart from everything that we know or that is still missing here within these technical solutions or within the chain? I'm asking this because we have sometimes questions. Okay, we do not have unique standards for this. We do not have harmonized onboarding system. We don't have harmonized APIs. We have a lot of blockchains that need to understand each other. What should be the main element for the blockchains or for the infrastructures to understand each other and to be interoperable within this what we have at the moment, not within this, what we still need to develop for that interoperability. Then I will ask the participants.
Hello, you hear me? Hello, this is Pietro. Yes.
Thank you.
From the sky. So I would like to give you a simple answer. At the moment, we can think of interoperability mostly at use case level and at, let's say, business level. So we have to talk the same language somehow at the business level. As from technology level, from one side, is never a big deal to integrate two technologies if we don't require, let's say, things that are really not applicable. So 99% of the problems are always coming from different standards in data formats, in data structures, and how we represent our information. The rest is, I would say, let me make it as easy as possible, normal administration from technology-driven say tools or infrastructures.
Okay, thank you very much. Tadej?
Common denominator. I would suggest concretely, walking the talk. For example, I can explain how, for example, Alastria and Hashnet is cooperating on one concrete use case that we would like to then develop also into a kind of use case, also cross-border, cross-network, where we are trying to integrate concretely on our two networks self-sovereign identity for companies. Through these concrete activities, for example, the business sides we have on the table, but also concrete, also other questions appearing when you are doing such activities. And I would suggest, like EPSI started, first infrastructure, first use case, second use case, integration, all activities related to this, also on national, but also on cross-border level. I see that through these activities, we are then answering all the questions, all the issues, step by step. Not to wait for all regulation, for all the solutions to be already regulated. I think a lot we can learn through this approach, that we do something and fixing in the same time.
Thank you, Tadej.
Nena, if
yeah, you may, please.
Could I, because as Tadej mentioned, sorry, let me start the video. Okay. I would say that there are two things that I think they are critical, and it's good that we have EPSI and so on, but we have to agree across all blockchain networks and across countries. One is digital identity, okay, which can be divided, in my opinion, in digital identity for citizens and digital identity for companies. Then you have digital identity for things, okay. Digital identity for citizens is much more complex, as you know. There is an initiative and so on, but digital identity for businesses should be easier because of privacy issues or any other things, but it is much easier, but it can be very beneficial to the economy and to the provision of services from the governments, because the governments are juridical entities also. So I think that this is a first step we have all to enter, because it's easier, because we can do things which are useful. Basically, the GDP of the company, the economy, is basically companies, okay, talking together in a logistic chain. And then trust framework, which is together with the digital identity. The trust framework is exactly this complement to the technology, which allows you to have use cases crossing different blockchain networks and maybe different countries, but without a trust framework covering whether one entity in a blockchain network can trust another entity in another blockchain network, then it is very, very difficult to do cross-border, cross-blockchain or cross-infrastructure things, okay? So I think those two are critical. And then also another one, which is data models, okay, or data dictionaries. And I think that we should be able to integrate something which already exists in the European Union framework, which is the context broker, the connecting facility, okay, context broker, which has defined already a standard. Well, ETSI has defined a standard, let's say, data model, which is JSON LD based, and anything that we do on the credentials, on the use case and so on, I think that they should speak a common technical language for the data models. Then, of course, every use case has their own problems. And as Pietro said, okay, this is business as usual. But I think that the data model for the exchange of information across blockchain networks and across countries should be based on a standard data model, okay, or ontology, which is already existing, okay? So we have to pick all the pieces together and then join them in an integrated way.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you totally, but this was the question that I meant to ask at the end of the
Sorry.
No, it's perfect, because I have another one. Yeah, and maybe the framework for the data model, maybe not, because we have the digital identity for the companies, okay, for materials, for things, for everything, and maybe we shall somehow define a format of the data model, not data model for each thing as such. But this should be the challenge for the future development. Maybe on this question, our participants have to have something else, something in mind, and then we will switch to that question that we started already.
So, yeah, just to add something on the standardization. First, sooner or later, we will get to some obstacles with the, let's say, 50% of the networking model on the blockchain. First of all, because of the sustainable energy, and we already seen the increasing of electrical consumption in the world because of the blockchain and because of the mining and because of all other things we are trying to do with the new technology. And I can tell you that it's very significant. So because of the mining and data centers which are dealing with the blockchain, so the Earth consumption of electrical energy jumped from 5 to 8% just for the data centers. Okay, so from 5 to 8% of consumption of electrical energy in the world, it's 3%, but imagine what you will have when you combine, let's say, the progress of the blockchain, which are today at, let's say, up to 5%. I don't believe it's more outside in the world as implementation, and put on that the 5G technology, which enables us to transfer an enormous amount of data, let's say 10, 20, 100 times much more data within some period of time. But behind that, you must have obviously the data centers which will push all those data all the time, okay? So in the end, if we are not looking on the sustainable technology, which will not be, so I'm against, so I can openly say that. So I'm completely against proof of work because it's not sustainable. So calculation based on the processor power, which is getting more and more complicated, it's not the way we are going. And this will be maybe using in some part, in some bordering part of this technology, but we must go and look and see and find sustainable way of that technology. As for anything else, so if you build a locomotive and it consumes a ton of oil per hour, it's not, if you then have 100,000 of 1 million of locomotives which are going on the railway, it's not sustainable. So there should be some kind of standardization, and we should look on that standardization together with sustainable building of the whole world with that technology.
Thank you, Igor. Maybe Mike.
I might answer to, given in response to this. As I laid out in my presentation, proof of work can be sustainable. And if a train with 1 ton of oil brings you 3 kilometers or to the Mars or Uranus or wherever, this makes a huge difference to the system. So it can be sustainable, and it is necessary to use proof of work for certain data. If you are dealing with a network, if you want to use a blockchain-ish network of a partially distributed network, and and people who are in this network and trust each other already at some point of form, okay, you can use a private blockchain, it's okay. But if it's a network where people are, or parties are dealing with each other that are not trusted to each other, yeah, there's proof of work is needed to give immutable proof to the transaction, to the data, to the value that is being sent. So it's highly necessary also to use proof of work for certain actions.
Okay, Dr. Scala, do you have any opinion on this? Because I will try to summarize this discussion as we are approaching to the end. Yeah.
We heard many real critics about the problem about the data, because now we are living in a big data era, and everything is happening, and blockchain is applicable on the right data, but the data model is not recognized sufficient, and the best challenge is optimizing the data models. And what we need to do in the future, it is standardization of digital objects. Now we haven't standard for digital objects, and many problems we have in artificial intelligence regarding that. And the same situation will be in a blockchain application. It will be used in use cases in our national or regional infrastructures. So I think that the most important challenge is the data model, the digital object standardization, and all over the software components in blockchain infrastructure. That is a very big challenge for us in the future.
Very much. I think that we touched many things now that would enable us to talk another 1 hour and a half. But maybe just to summarize and your final thoughts. First, we heard that we need digital identity of the things and some kind of common data model, okay, or framework for the identification of the relevant data. Then we heard about the need for sustainability, but here we have proof of work, which reminds me on this the beginnings of blockchain, when we started to think how to integrate this, how what the capabilities of the infrastructure should be. And here maybe proof of work should be indicated in the connecting other technologies to blockchain technology. So this convergence moment, I think that it has to be addressed and overcome also to ensure the sustainability. And the third thing is really how to think about converging technologies as such that would embrace the data requirements or metadata requirements, the digital identities of the things, of companies, of persons, and also the relevant data that should be collected and structured through AI and machine learning processes and through IoT devices. But what would be the stage of the connecting these advanced digital technologies to blockchain, which is more advanced, as we know now, because we are in the proof of stake or proof of authority already. How should we behave here when we are facing the new challenge of integrating with new technologies as such? Pietro?
Yes.
Can I add?
Please, go ahead.
I believe that proof of work will finish as a Wankel motor. So you have something which is which looks let's say sustainable, and which looks fast, and which looks like everything you desired, and it consumes enough for the certain time, but on the end it will finish as a Wankel motor. So somewhere in the past. So to prove that, so imagine if you have let's say 50% more implementation of the blockchain, and imagine what will happen with the electrical grid. So you have today some cities in the European Union, in Netherlands, in Belgium, and all around, which built enormous data centers to be able to provide their citizens with all kinds of data through the digital television, internet, and etc., etc. They are not able to put the electrical network around the suburbs, so that the suburbs, in the case of the consumption of those data centers, which are today in the suburbs, can have the same quality of electricity in their homes, because there are peaks of electrical jumping for the data centers, which brings down the grid in the suburbs for domestic appliances and everything else. Okay? So we are heading somewhere not to think about consumption of energy. Everything is okay if you have one locomotive going 100 kilometers from London to somewhere else, okay, and it consumes 10 tons of oil per hour. That's cool. That's cool. You have one locomotive. When you have 100,000 locomotives, then there is an obstacle for doing that. So you must bring that energy to the source which consumes that same energy. And we don't have that energy, and we don't have it today for the future. So we must think about something for providing data which will not consume so much energy. But, okay, we will see. Maybe we will find the source of the energy which will be forever, and which will goes with our needs for the data, and for every types of next technology which will came. By I doubt that the data and consumption of energy should progress like it progresses now.
So I think the attribution of the energy consumption to proof of work is wrong at that point. The thing is, we all are dealing with much more data also in the upcoming years, more and more data. And this to access to databases, to clouds, to this access to the data, this is actually energy consuming. This is what needs a lot of energy. Yeah, not the proof of work at that point.
Okay, I actually wanted, no. Igor, I actually wanted to...
Consumed how much?
Igor.
It's an oligarch system. Oligarch system where people who have enough money can manipulate the system.
No, that's not true. The Chinese, which is 70% of
The Chinese
today, they manipulate the whole business of the coin market today.
Okay, can I stop this discussion?
We will continue this off stage.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to say, listen, I wanted to say that blockchain technology is maybe in more advanced stage than others that has to be connected with blockchain technology. And this is not the discussion you have now, because the sustainability is something that can be attributed to this, and not the main point that we want to achieve today with the integrating of the technologies. No.
The point government state is to provide standardization and to think about, and so the point of the states and the state government is something what we are trying to do all together for the society, not for the corporate business. Corporate business doesn't care about consumption of the electricity. Corporate business cares just for one thing, for their profit until it lasts. Okay.
Yeah, they have to be socially responsible, so they...
Can I take it here? Also, Igor, to reply to you, we have really straight direction, also European, national level, and that blockchain have to be green, have to be sustainable, and it's direction that we are all following. But to answer to your question, I don't agree. Actually, we were waiting that blockchain technology scale up so that they can be now used together with others who are much faster. And scalability issue now is being developed on the level that we really are facing the real use cases in industry, in different particular fields, that now finally we have the solutions, technical solutions that we can merge technologies like IoT with AI and blockchain infrastructures. But I would add some other concerns related to how fast we are actually developing not just infrastructure but also use cases, comparing to what is actually going on the, let's say, technology markets on the field of blockchain. Here I can see my concern that we are not fast enough. We are not fast enough. For example, we have our colleague Philip Rixen still with us here explaining a lot of activities, for example, on the field of European copyright infrastructure, where a lot of concrete solutions could be developed also using blockchain technologies, but we are still lacking such infrastructures. On the other side, we see NFTs as a big boom, not just hype, but also solutions who are partly solving the issue of copyrights already being developed and used. But what is my concern is if member states, if European Union will be fast enough building infrastructure and building so comprehensive use cases that they will be relevant. I'm afraid that if we will not be fast enough, all activities that we are being developed, of course it will be developed somewhere in the near future, but I'm afraid that they will not be relevant as they could be if we will move faster.
Yeah, okay. I can agree with you, but in any case, what do you think, Pietro? I'm still waiting somebody to defend me in my thoughts.
Listen, I would say that, first of all, I agree with Tadej, and I believe we need to be faster. We always been a little bit ahead of the others, and we have to keep being ahead because the others are moving fast. On the green part, I would say I agree with the concept of both other colleagues, but there are two generic statements. There is not a statement that say this is green, this is not green. Means reducing consumption has to be analyzed deeply, because when we speak about data in a blockchain, I believe when one of our child see one movie on Netflix, consume more data and more traffic and more power than all the transaction in blockchain in 1 year. So at the end, when you put numbers down, you have to put numbers with an appropriate calculation. Otherwise, we may confuse and we may miss the point. One of our job when we want to be green is to calculate every possible factor and understand what is the best process. That's why we are very considering processes, because these are the ones that we found they are more effective in reducing the consumption. That's why blockchain is very important, because bring processes, simplify processes, and we don't need 100 trains. We need one. Maybe the one will consume more than the train of the last year, but we need only one. Why before we need hundreds? Now, to make a paraphrase what our colleague was telling. So that's our objective, to reduce the processes. And as we said before, to reduce this, we need a common language in the way that we can understand each other. We talk in the same language, and that's it. So if we achieve this fastly, rapidly, as Tadej was pointing out, and this is very important, we will be more effective than anything we had done before.
I fully agree, Pietro. We are not in green, we are in red. And we need to optimizing the processes, but this is a very complex problem to solving that. So I think that we need to optimizing the computing paradigm, that we need to use data flow and control flow computing models and the data science, the data science models and so on. It is a big challenge for optimizing and to going to the green phase of our technology future. So I think that we are on the digital decade, going toward the Industry 5.0, and it is very, very important to solving all these, as I said, digital revolutionary questions and topics. It is not easy, and I think that in total the energy problem will be solved with quantum computing and any other new computing platforms. In this computing von Neumann principle is cannot solve all these huge big data and high performance computing power requirements.
Jesus, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay, your final thoughts, please.
Okay.
You are now in the third place.
Yes, I was traveling. Okay, so let me give my opinion on this, on the two subjects. First, the networks that interest me, or where I am interested, are basically all permission. Okay, so this is blockchain networks provided by the governments to provide better services to citizens and businesses, or companies with companies for the real economy and the real society. Okay, so if a network is permission, then the choice or the number of consensus algorithms that you can choose is very big, okay, and including proof of work, okay, so you can run proof of work in a permission network. Having said that, okay, you are not forced to choose proof of work for a permission network. You can choose whatever suits the objectives of the network, okay? And then you have to balance sustainability with the objectives, okay? And by the way, because proof of work was created, or is very powerful because it gives you a consensus algorithm in the presence of anonymous participants. But when the participants are not anonymous and it's a permission network, you can choose any other. Having said that, in the real economy, I have never found a use case which needs proof of work, okay? And proof of work can be made more sustainable than Bitcoin, of course, as we have been looking at this here, okay? But it doesn't mean that is more sustainable than any other protocol. And then you can choose the protocols because there is not an absolute sustainability. As Pietro said, you have something greener or with less consumption for this use case than some other things. So there is a partial order on this, okay? So at the end, I'm not in favor of proof of work, even though it can be used if it justifies the need, okay? But having said that, I haven't found any need for a permission network. For a non-permission network, yes, of course, but not for the kind of networks that I am interested in. And having said that, most blockchain networks and most consensus algorithms right now insist on having a total global order of everything happening in the blockchain network, okay? So total order means that all the events, all the happenings, all the transactions have to be ordered in a global order, okay? This is killing flies with cannons, as we say, because this is too much for the real economy. Imagine a diploma that a university in Germany gives to a citizen, okay, at one point in time. Why do we have to have a global order of this event with a diploma being issued by a Spanish university to another citizen, okay? So they can be simultaneous. Or a food traceability event in Finland. Do they have to be globally ordered? No. In the real world, the real economy is very, very concurrent. And blockchains right now are not massively concurrent. So I expect, because we are right now beginning with the technology. The technology is not mature. It's mature for many use cases, but not for the real big objective, which is putting all the real economy use cases on top of blockchains to get this trusted interchange of information and value. There is no blockchain technology currently which supports this. So we need a new generation of blockchain consensus algorithms and blockchain technology that supports this high concurrency of events in the real world, okay? So the ordering of events has to be aligned with the real use cases, which is not happening right now. And again, we are killing flies with cannons. And in terms of sustainability, it means that we are going to improve because blockchain technology is improving very, very fast. And I expect this to be just a trend. So we need researchers, we need companies, we need governments to invest in new consensus algorithms, which are more sustainable, but which can be used for achieving the objectives, okay?
And we need more money to support this and to support this development and
yes.
hold the research and the governmental actions for this. Thank you very much. We need to finish because we have at 5 o'clock another panel. I enjoyed in this discussion, maybe I can use Pietro's words that we are ahead, but we need to be even more ahead from the development of the other technologies so that we can embrace the technologies to the blockchain infrastructure and services. Thank you very much. I invite you now, you also to join us at the policy discussion which we have with the EU Blockchain Observatory and Forum, and maybe we can find it something interesting in this as well. Thank you very much.